recording. This time I'm sharing the screen. Okay, so now we've seen a big picture overview of yoga. We've tried different things. Now we'll jump into the curriculum, which is Yoga Sutras. So there are 4 chapters in the Yoga Sutras. We'll go through this relatively fast. And I will just cover the most important aspects. For the first chapter is called Samadhi Pada. It is a chapter on advanced states of meditation. And in this chapter, he introduces yoga, what yoga is, what's a yoga practice, how do you define a yoga practice, and then he just shifts gear and goes all the way to advanced states of samadhi, culminating in something called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So there it is a state where there's without an object. You're meditating on like void. It's apparently a very scary thing when people go into that. It's what my meditation teacher has told me. So that's the first chapter. The reason probably he did that gear shifting is he wants for advanced students, maybe they don't have to go through all the other stuff. So for them, it's just that. But we don't know why he's done it this way. The second one is called Sadhana Pada. This is the most relevant for us, especially because it has the Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 aspects, 8 limbs of yoga. And the first portion of the Sadhana Pada is, guess what? Purusha Prakriti. Purusha Prakriti, same thing. A lot about that. And then Patanjali introduces the Ashtanga Yoga. And in the third chapter, he formally defines these 3 stages of meditation. Then it's our favorite chapter because it talks about all the glories, siddhis. The vibhuti means the glory, extraordinary things, walking on water, making yourself huge, reading others' minds, all these things he talks about. The vibhutis, we just see a few. I have the entire recordings and the slides of the Yoga Sutras, maybe about 12, 14 hours, something. You can get it from my website if you're interested. So it's an interesting chapter. I did it over in about 2 hours. Then the final is Kaivalya Pada. Kaivalya means, Kevala just means alone, aloofness, but what it means is liberation. So we saw this wheel, your actions creates other life. Janma is a life from karma. Your action can also be a thought. And moksha is the liberation, the escape out of this. Everything is covered in that chapter. So this is how it's organized. Now, the first chapter, as I said, it has 2 aspects. One is the definition and the nature of the yoga practice. And feel free to ask questions. So far we saw Krishna cursing, all that. It was fun stuff. Now we are going into curriculum, so it will be a little boring. So if you don't want to get bored, you can engage and ask questions. So this is how Patanjali defines it. In between, we'll use some shlokas from Krishna to make things interesting. So wherever there's Krishna, there's a lot of mischief and things are never boring when Krishna is there. Bhagavad Gita is that way. It's a pleasure to read, even though it talks about the same things, but in a non-curriculum style. Okay, we'll study this definition and nature of yoga practice. We already saw yoga is the chitta vrittis, right? If the vrittis are not stopped, the Purusha starts identifying with the screen of the mind. Then, as I said, this is a scientific document. So he has to define, and it's all encompassing. So he has to define what the vrittis are. So the vrittis, he says, are of 5 kinds. Vrittaya, panchataya, klishta, klishtaha. This is also a very famous sutra. All the yoga teachers, I know, they seem to be quoting this. So I'll chant. Is it okay if you want to chant after me? Okay, I'll chant first. Vrittaya panchataya Klishta, klishtaha. So the vrittis, panchataya means pancha is 5. There are 5 kinds. And klishta, klishta means klishta, aklishta. So klishta, when you combine with aklishta, klishta, klishta, it becomes, when you combine, it becomes a compound. So it becomes klishta, klishta. And this is one of Devora's favorite sutras. I don't know why. So, and Patanjali defines the 5 types of vritti: pramana, viparjaya, vikalpa, nidra, smritaya. So it also, pramana is correct knowledge, correct perception and other things. Then viparjayo mithya jnanam. It's mythical, it's false knowledge. So the word myth, it also has a Sanskrit root, mithya jnanam. Then vikalpa. Vikalpa is just imagination. Patanjali, the way he defines is Shabdaktyananupati vastu shunyo vikalpaha. It is empty. It's just like rattling fire. Total delusion, imagination. All this goes in our mind. So then sleep, nidra, and memory, smriti. So these are, scientifically, he talks about this. And how can the vrittis be halted? They can be halted through meditation.
ध्यानहेयास्तद्वृत्तयः
So heya means quelling. Those vrittis can be quelled by meditation. Dhyana is meditation. And Patanjali says it's very formal the way. So how do you get to the state? We saw yoga chitta vritti nirodha, state free from these vrittis. How do you reach the state? Patanjali defines 2 aspects. One is obvious. Abhyasa means practice. Other is a very tricky thing. It is called dispassion, vairagya, which means, so this is actually expressed so importantly in the scriptures. When you go at a thing, you have to go with a little sense of lightness. Same thing happens in the asana practice. Sometimes people push 10 times. They try to do Pincha Mayurasana, the Karandavasana, coming back, doesn't come. They just, so that's not the right approach. Sometimes things happen when your body is open and ready. So this dispassion, non-attachment, it's a vairagya. It's a very important thing, and it's stressed throughout. Sometimes people go after these powerful siddhis. They quote it with such force, and they're not getting it. It's only when they let go, sometimes they get it. So let's listen to the chant.
अभ्यासवैराग्याभ्यां तन्निरोधः
It's actually a very beautiful sutta. Vyasa Vairagya Bhyam means only with both. It's not just one. Vairagya with both Bhyam. That means with these 2, Nirodha. Get to that state of Nirodha. And this also I included it. It'll look obvious, but I included this because teachers, Pattabhi would quote this. What is yoga practice? That effort, tatra sthitau yatnau vyasaha. That effort, yatna is effort, that effort which results in steadiness of the mind, that is yoga practice. Even in asana, Pattabhi would say, how do you know the asana is correct? When your mind is calm. So this is, it's not if you're binding or doing anything. The mind eventually has to be. That is the perfect pose. It's not the form that matters. So
तत्र स्थितौ यत्नोऽभ्यासः
this is also a very important sloka. I'm not going to torture you, asking you to repeat it, but it's very beautiful sloka. Sutra. Tatra sthitau yatnopyasa. Then this vairagya, Patanjali also defines this non-attachment, and the way he defines this, vairagya is the mastery over consciousness of one who has lost thirst in perceived and revealed objects. Even some people say, you do all this practice, you'll go to heaven. Even that thirst this person has lost. That is the amount, the dispassion that one has. Because heaven is still, it's a certain pleasure. So the way in these Yoga Sutras, they don't talk about heaven. They talk about the escape route. There's a very beautiful shloka in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna compares with the snake and ladders game. You go to heaven, but once all your merit has extinguished, fall back into earth. So the shloka goes, Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam shine punye matyalokam vishanti evam trayi dharmamanu prapanna gatagatam kama kama labante. So shine punya, after your merit has extinguished, all the way. So the only solution is escape route. So that's why the Yoga Sutras, they don't talk about heaven. So even the revealed objects, this person who has vairagya has attained mastery. Let's listen to this.
दृष्टानुश्रविकविषयवितृष्णस्य वशीकारसंज्ञा वैराग्यम्.
So sometimes, so this is my meditation teacher, he would quote from the Buddhist sutras that when this vairagya, when you actually let go, you have to feel that you've gained something. That is the true release, because it will make you feel lighter. Otherwise, all this craving to get to this pose, all that, it creates a lot of burden. But in this openness, you may not be able to do that pose, but there's a lot of other things you will benefit. Sometimes, very often, I've seen that people go to yoga to do something, but they get something else. It can be good sleep or peace of mind, whatever, improved relationships or many different things. But they would want to do a pose. They will think that they've failed, but they actually will have gotten so many other benefits. So again, here in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Vishaya vinivattante aharasya dehinaha rasavacham rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Objects of the desire fall away for one who has learned to withdraw the senses, but the subtle taste still lingers. The memory of this lingering taste falls away when one has seen the Supreme. So even in meditation or in asana practice, there are these states that you get, like very beautiful states. And when you get to those states, other things like food, all those things will look inferior, the pleasure you get out of it. And even after some time, it says even the lingering taste, it goes off. When you see something bigger, that bigger is inside. So it's only going inward. Apparently it's not found outside. So the way Patanjali defines this, Tat Param Purusha Khyate Gunavai Trishnam, on go inside and one day, even a glimpse so in meditation, I don't know if you've experienced, sometimes there is this immense stillness. It'll probably come for half a second. They call it the Kanika Samadhi. Half a second, it's such bliss, but again the mind starts kind of working. So meditation practice is entire sustaining this for longer and longer. And like that, sometimes you see this glimpse of something so peaceful. When you see that, you get so much joy. So when you see, Patanjali says that when you see the glimpse of a Purusha, all these desires, they fall off. That is the peace and beauty you get. Param Purusha Kyate Guna Vaitrishnam, thirst for the gunas, like sweet, sour, everything goes away. Then Patanjali defines high quality ingredients of a high quality yoga practice. I'm bringing this because you're all yoga teachers, so you will be telling this to your students. This is also a very popular sutra. I'll play this first.
सतु दीर्घकालनैरन्तर्य सत्कारासेवितो दृढभूमिः.
And the practice is done for a long time. Satu dirgha kala means long time. Nairantarya, without a break. Sakkara sevita, with sincere devotion. Then the practice becomes Drida Bhumi, becomes like firmly rooted. And this is the secret for sustaining your practice. And what happens, this is also very beautiful sutra. What happens with consistent practice?
तस्य प्रशान्तवाहिता संस्कारात्.
Samskara, I told you, it's imprint, right? This becomes imprinted in your system. And what happens due to this? Due to the practice, there's a calm flow of peace. Prashanta Vahita. Vahita is this flow. Prashanta is peaceful flow. Prashanta Vahita Samskara. It's all ingrained in your system, imprinted. Then the chapter I said, it talks about this special entity called Ishvara. Let's say God or whatever. Ishvara Pranidhanadva.
ईश्वर प्रणिधानाद्वा.
This is an important sutra because it sets the stage for the yoga practice as yoga as something, a practice that can be aimed at divine. So it can be a devotional thing. So for some people, I know a lot of Ashtanga Vinyasa practitioners, for them it's worship. Their practice is like worship. It is, so that is their yoga practice. So, and what is this Ishvara? It is, we all talked about the Purusha, right? The one inside us. This is a special Purusha. And what is so special? Klesha karma vipaka ashayo aparamrishta. It's beyond what? Beyond klesha, afflictions, actions, fruits of actions, and the leftover feelings. It's beyond this. Purusha Vishesha Ishvaraha, the special Purusha. This is called Ishvara. So Patanjali defines this in this way.
क्लेशकर्म विपाकाशयैरपरामृष्टः पुरुषविशेष ईश्वरः.
Okay. Then in the chapter 1, Patanjali very quickly shifts gear into the various states of samadhi. So this is actually a very important thing, meditation. So I will describe this. Patanjali, this actually what he talks about this in the 3rd chapter, but I'm going to introduce here. So you may want to make note of this. There's 3 stages of meditation. This is Patanjali calls it Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. It's in the Ashtanga, the 8 limbs. The first 4 limbs are called Bahiranga Sadhana, which is external. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama. Till Pranayama, all external. Then he introduces Pratyahara, which is the transition from getting. Pratyahara means Prati Ahara, weaning away the food. Ahara is food. Prati means just taste, taking away. Weaning away the food for the senses by closing eyes and going inward. That is Pratyahara. It is symbolized by the statas. Supta Kurmasana, Kurmasana to Supta Kurmasana is the symbolism for Pratyahara. It's an important step. And then Patanjali calls the internal practices, which are these 3. Antaranga sadhana. Dharana. So when you start meditating, you just immediately don't go into this blissful state of samadhi. You have to first focus. The mind wanders, you bring it back. This is what happens. So dharana, you have to cultivate this focus. Then after some time, it will become sustained focus. So I usually focus on my the chest, the breath. So after some time, I mean, there will be some thoughts, but it's not like pulling away. I'm still with this feeling in the breath. Then it becomes dhyana. Some thoughts will come. If you have seen this Headspace app, they will show this cartoon. Like there's cars going on the highway. This guy is running behind all the cars, and then at some point, he just sits and watches the cars go. So there will always be thoughts, but it's not going to affect you a lot. Sustained, you are able to remain with the object of meditation. That is dhyana. And the third, samadhi, is when the best example I give is when you sit in after a workout or something, you go sit in a hot tub, jacuzzi, you feel yourself just melting away, right? That feeling when the object and the subject become one. So you are kind of focusing on a sensation, your breath or your raise of your diaphragm or your chest moving up and down, and you are with this rhythm, it's going on. At some point, you just merge into it. That state is samadhi. This is the end goal, the samadhi. There are different states or levels of samadhi too. But yoga, in fact, Vyasa defines yoga as samadhi. Yoga is samadhi. That's what he says. This is the most powerful state. And from this, all the superpowers come. So, but we'll see the sutra soon. You can't go straight to that. First, you have to focus or develop the focus slowly, dhyana, and then you will reach that state. Okay. Then Patanjali defines dharana. Desha bhanda chittasya dharana. Dharana is the binding of the mind in one place. Desha is place. Bangladesh, so Desh literally means a place. Desha bandha means bind. We use bandhas. Binding the mind, what the chitta, to one place is called dharana. This is also a very nice sutra for teachers who want to know. You can, and it's also short, so you can memorize that.
देशबन्धश्चित्तस्य धारणा
Tatra pratyayekathanata dhyanam. In the screen, the contents of the screen, it's the same. So from one moment to another becomes meditation, dhyana.
तत्र प्रत्ययैकतानता ध्यानम्.
So Patanjali is very scientific. He uses the word pratyaya, screen, when the contents, tatra pratyaya ekatanata, it's eka means one, and the contents are the same from one to another, moment to another, and it becomes sustained focus or dhyana. And then the third one is the most important, state of total absorption. When you just, my meditation teacher defined as a subject and the object becoming one. You're just totally engrossed. You're focusing on object and then you just merge with that. That's the state of samadhi. And the way Patanjali defines, when the object shines forth as though devoid of form. So it kind of you melted together by total absorption.
तदेवार्थमात्रनिर्भासं स्वरूपशून्यमिव समाधिः.
The object shines forth, but it's devoid. Swarupa shunyam. The form is zero. Shunya means zero. There's no form. And because it's total merged. And These 3 steps, Patanjali calls it samyama. When you do this on different things, you get different powers.
त्रयमेकत्र संयमः
And next is a very beautiful sutra.
तज्जयात् प्रज्ञालोकः.
When you master these 3, tajaya means victory. When you master these 3, you get prajna. Prajna alokaha. It raises. You get prajna as a state of wisdom. So we get these from when you master these states. Any questions so far? Everybody doing okay so far? Not too boring? Because curriculum, right? So to make sure. Yeah, please ask questions. If you feel it's normal whenever we're exposed to a new curriculum, we'll feel sleepy or bored. So just ask any question. It's totally fine. Yeah. So it's totally normal. And this is also a beautiful sutra. And this Viniyoga, from this, a lot of people like Krishnamacharya, there's tradition, they call it Viniyoga. Vinyasa, Krama, all these come from this. So the Vinyasa, actually the word Vinyasa, it's a sequence of movements. The origin comes from here. The Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, it's a sequence like that. This sequence that they use in this asana flow, they call it a Vinyasa. It also means a Vishesha Nyasa, a special sequence. So these 3, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, so it's also a special sequence.
तस्य भूमिषु विनियोगः.
It has to be done in stages, so you can't expect to just go straight into Samadhi. Right? Patanjali emphasizes that. Okay, so that is the first chapter. Any questions? So first chapter, just to summarize, he talks about what a yoga practice is. He defines a good quality yoga practice. Satudhirgakala nairantarya sattara sevito dridabhumihi. It becomes firmly rooted. Then he switches gear and goes into advanced states of meditation, which I didn't cover, but I explained what the samadhi is about. So we'll leave the first chapter. Yeah, you have a question. Yeah, it varies from person to person. The Buddha said, he told somebody, I can be in a state of samadhi for 2 weeks. But in the meditation, one of the retreats I've been to, there was one person who sat through the entire night. That person apparently went into a state of jhana, which is like a state of rapture. It's a very advanced states. So there are people who can sit in meditation, and it's very common. If you go to a meditation retreat, like my teacher teaches in Santa Cruz, and in every retreat there will be one person who will be able to meditate for 15 hours straight. Even though they have this walking meditation between every, so usually it's 50 minutes sitting, 50 minutes walking, like that. Some people, after they do all that, at some point they'll just sit for like long 6, 7, 8, 10 hours, like that. Yeah. And it only comes with practice. And some people, Patanjali also says, I haven't said this, some people have a mind suitable for meditation. It's just natural. Yeah. And it seems to be indirectly linked to intelligence. People who are academically very brilliant and all this, they tend to have less ability to meditate. I've noticed that quite often. Yeah. Okay. Second chapter is considered the most important for lay people like us. It is called, titled Sadhana Pada. Sadhana means practice. The chapter on practice. And Patanjali lays the foundation before he goes to this famous Ashtanga Yoga. He lays the foundation for why do Ashtanga Yoga. He says Yoganga Anushtana Ashuddhikshaye Jnana Deeptihi Aviveka Kyate. This Viveka Kyati is a word he uses for discrimination. Your mind becomes like a razor sharp. It's able to see very quickly this action. No, if I do this, I can see through 10 next steps. It caused this problem. That is the state that comes, because there are otherwise will be this thing will pull, oh, there's a nice coffee shop next to that place, maybe I should work there. There's all these things. But with the razor sharp thing, it goes straight to the point. That is the Viveka Kyati, which comes with yoga. Okay? And Patanjali describes why do yoga. He talks extensively about Purusha and Prakriti. So first we'll see the essence of the sadhana pada is in this verse, in this sutra. Prashtu drishyayo sanyogo teya hetuhu. It is a very loaded sutra. Drashta is the seer. Drishyam is the seen. When we think we are this body, that identification with the body is the cause of sanyoga, means this identification or connection that the drashta and the drishyam are the same. It is the heya hetu, it's the cause of the avoidable suffering. Calls it avoid, it's unnecessary. Drashtu drishyayo sanyogo heya hetu. The cause of the avoidable suffering is the identification with the drashta with the drishyam. That is the seer with what is seen. So there is a joke that when you start reading, before we read all this yogic scriptures, we say, oh, I'm the body, I have a great body, all that. Then slowly, when people start reading, they'll say, yeah, there's a Atma living inside me. And then people who are accomplished, who have gotten to some level of meditation and understanding of the scriptures, they will say, I am the Atma. So there's evolution from identification to thinking, oh yeah, there is something that resides in me, to thinking, I am that. So that is the evolution of the understanding of the scriptures. It is said, when you get to the third stage, and you get to the third stage by study of the scriptures and meditation. When you get there, you have a superpower. Because when you know that you are the Atma, then something happens to the body, you're not worried, because you know it's just 80, 90, 100 years of your lifetime. In the vast expanse of lifetime, there's a small blip. This next lifetime will be different. That thought gives a lot of ease. And this is what people say. It's not what the scriptures say too, but the study of scriptures, this is what it gives people. And that's why a lot of people study this.
There must be a point where it's almost you really embody it. But
yeah,
it had to be
what people, so for me it's different because I was exposed to this from early years, but people who know, people in the West and other places who have no idea of this, they say something called Shraddha, a deep faith. It comes up. And it comes up, maybe they did asana practice or meditation. At some point, it just seems natural. So this Shraddha is a word that is used. Some deep faith, it comes. And it is when you see certain patterns, for example, this is one, I'm just giving one example. Somebody went to a Jyotish. Jyotish is a astrologer, you can say. Astrology doesn't predict the future, but because the planets exert force on us, it tells certain when you're born in a certain sign zodiac, it has certain, you have certain proclivities based on the planetary influence. This is what it tells. And this person, after that visit, it revealed a lot of traits of this person which help the person formulate the life better. Because when best knowledge is self-knowledge. And after that thing, the person had so much of faith that they started reading more about this things. So it can happen, that's one way. Another thing is through asana practice or meditation. So this Shraddha comes, it will just be very clear. This is what it is. Okay, so I just wanted to recap here. So the Purusha, the Prakriti, in between there's this mind, which sometimes thinks it is the hero, and it is not. It is just, it's like a mirror. It's just operating of the light from this Purusha. Light shines, reflects off the mind, and illuminates the body. That's what makes the body alive. Otherwise, it's dead. Okay? So this is the principle. And what caused Patanjali, it's very scientific document. So he says what causes the wrong identification, because he calls it the klesha. Klesha mula karmashayo drishta janma vedaniya. It's also a beautiful sutra. Drishta, seen in this lifetime. Adrishta, whatever kleshas, wrong things we are doing, in the next lifetime they'll have consequences. So klesha mula is the root. Kleshas are the root which cause things at this or the next lifetimes. And Patanjali says the root, the most important klesha, avidya. It holds the first place. Avidya kshetram uttaresham. It holds the first uttaresham, top place of all the kleshas. And that's why it's recommended to study the philosophy also. So wrong ignorance or wrong knowledge is the foremost of the klesha, be it dormant, feeble, intermittent, or udaranam. It's very uncharacteristic, this word. Use the word generous of the kleshas, the bad habits, generosity, being there generously in the system. So I've always said there's this Purusha that remains in the body. What happens when the body dies? It is said that the Purusha, then it remains in a dormant form for time, very long time. And when it finds the right situation, it goes into another body. It can be human or something else. So that's what it is. So it's captured very beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. Dehi nosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptihi dhirastattra na mukhyati. Just as the Purusha goes through the phases of childhood, old age in the body, at the time of death, it's just like a transition. So it's not like a death to some major thing. It just goes on, moves on into the next body. For it, it's like a continuous flow. Right? It's just the body is becoming from child, youth, old age. It's just transitioning and going away. So there's nothing to grieve, Krishna says, at death. Yeah.
Is it true that things say that you can let everything die? Wish that you could. And when
Yeah. At the time of death, what you're thinking, that has a great influence on what in the Bhagavad Gita it says that, but we don't know, right? So there are a lot of other strings attached to want to be born as the president of the There are other strings probably we may not qualify that. It's eventually the karma, and like when for the samskaras, for the vasanas to come, it has to have the right conditions. And we are not to control. We can't be in full control of that. And this is also a very beautiful shloka. I just read it. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnathi naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. As a person casts off old and worn out clothes, this purusha dehi, it's a different word used. It casts off worn out bodies and enters new ones. So that is how it moves about. So all this is covered in the second chapter. Then one very important concept is the karma. Of course, in the last chapter, remember, Janma, karma causes Janma. It's a cycle going up, round and round and round and round. World, it's like in Buddhism, it's equivalent to like a carousel going, it's just whirling. It's three karmas: prarabdha karma, sanchita karma, and agami karma. This prarabdha karma is previous lifetime's karma, whose fructification results have already started. So you are what you are, a great person because of the karma you did, whatever actions you did in previous lives, and you're now great. So it's already fructified. Then the sanchita karma, which is all the accumulated karma which has not fructified it because it hasn't found the right circumstances. Part of the karma, since it's already fructified, there's no escaping. So if you're born with some limitations in your body, it is what it is. One cannot escape that. It is exhausted only after experiencing, is what the scriptures say. The sanchita karma can be dissolved by self-realization. And the third is agami karma. So due to the leftover desires, we have all these imprints. We have proclivities to certain bad actions or good actions, and that will happen in this or the future lifetimes, and it will add to the karma stockpile. And this can be altered by discernment. In fact, this Krishnamacharya, who probably you all know, he taught Iyengar and Pattabhi Jois. He is like the father of modern day yoga. His yoga school, they call Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram. Their title, the motto, it is a sutra called Heyam Dukkam Anagatam. What can be avoided should be avoided. It's what it says. Heyam Dukkam, the sorrow which is yet to come should be avoided by the practice of yoga. It's actually a very a loaded statement, because you would think that's so dull, stale statement. What does it mean by that? I know that if the thing is wrong, yeah, it has to be avoided, but there's a difference. Even though we know something is bad, we do that, and there is a certain force in the body, and the scriptures talk all about that. And the only way to dissolve this is through deep states of meditation, to rewire these patterns. It is because you're finding this impulse to do something, even though it's bad, it's there. And when you find this peace, slowly all this imprints, you kind of change. And that happens through meditation. Patanjali describes that. Sati mule tat vipako chatyayur boga. So when the root of the karma exists, it fructifies as birth, lifespan, and experiences. That's what how karma fructifies. And let's listen to this one.
ते ह्लादपरितापफलाः पुण्या पुण्यहेतुत्वात्.
These pleasurable and painful fruits are the result of virtuous and unvirtuous karma. Punya, apunya hetutva. Virtuous and unvirtuous. Hlada paritapapala. I told you already. Hlada is very great pleasure, out of the world pleasure. That and paritapapala, fruits of this great pleasure and the pain, it is from the all the karma. Okay, so that so we are at the second chapter now. We covered the first portion. So this is why we need to do yoga, Patanjali says. And then he introduces the Ashtanga Yoga. So Patanjali talks about three types of yoga, very advanced. Mridu Madhyadi Matratva Tatopi Visheshaha. Based on the intensity of practice, he defines it into three categories. Mridu, Madhya, Adhimatra is extreme, very difficult. The extreme one is the advanced states of meditation in the first chapter. The middle one is the Ashtanga Yoga, which is for lay people. Then for very busy people, Patanjali takes a subset. He calls it Kriya Yoga. Tapas Svadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. It's actually the first sutra in the second chapter. I've left it, but it's a subset. Tapas, austerity. Some people consider doing yoga tapas, asana practice, because what is tapas? It is leaving out a smaller pleasure for a higher pleasure. So when you wake up in the morning and you're not enjoying in the bed and not eating early breakfast, but instead you're doing yoga, it is actually tapas, doing asana practice, because you left out a smaller pleasure and you're going after a bigger, refined pleasure. Refined pleasure, not gross pleasure. That is austerity. And so, in the scriptures, tapas usually refers to something like fasting, where you're not eating, but the tapas, the word means heat. Tap means heat. That heat is literally cleansing all the toxins in the body. So asana practice is also that way. Tapas, with this heat, you're cleansing the body. Tapas, Swadhyaya, study of scriptures, and Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender to the Ishvara. These are the three things that are needed for people who are very busy. Any questions before we move on?
So let's move to the top of that. We're pizza in the stair. Idea that we will to be upstairs, like upstairs or measure. Because if you practice and use passion and you find it.
Yeah. So the austerity creates the heat. That's things. So austere means you're avoiding like certain foods. So you're avoiding. It's very tasty, but no, thank you. I have a vow. I'm not going to touch it. That ability to stop, it creates a heat. Okay. In a bigger sense, when you're not eating, so the body, the most important thing in the body, according to yoga and Ayurveda, is your Agni. When the body's fire is strong, all the diseases, according to Ayurveda, are kind of quelled to a certain extent. When the fire becomes weak, that's when diseases come. In this, it's called Jatara Agni. It is considered holy. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a verse which says, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha Prana Pana Samayuktaha Pachamyannam Chaturvidam. I become Vaishwanara, this Agni in the body, and reside in the bodies of all beings. And what do? I unite prana and apana. Prana is the upward going life force. Apana is the downward going. Both are needed. apanas needed for elimination and other things. And uniting both, I digest all kinds of foods. That's what Krishna says. So this tapas, this agni, it is something you get by austerity, like fasting, your asana practice. All these are therefore considered austerity. Yeah. So the austerity produces heat in the system, which cleanses. And it is said that people who have these tapas, they will get a siddhi. In the Mahabharata, so much importance in yoga to food. Hatha Yoga Pradipika says, Hitam Mita Ahara. Actually, if you're eating a little on the lesser side, it's much better. And yogis, though they were meditation, Bhishma would say, if you eat one meal a day for 6 years, you get a siddhi, you get a superpower. You eat 2 meals a day in 12 years, you get a superpower. So this is because of the tapas. You're letting the fire burn strongly. So the lesser you eat, of course, not to the point of being tormented, you have to work yourself up. Even in asana practice, certain asanas are difficult. If you're tormenting, then it's not a good practice. But slowly you're building up, then that is a tapas. Okay, now shall we study, see Ashtanga Yoga? This is the famous Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali, which everybody is interested in. Yeah? Okay. So the 8, this is how it is chanted. So I will just play Jayashree's voice.
यमनियमासन प्राणायाम प्रत्याहार धारणा ध्यान समाधयोष्टावङ्गानि.
Ashtavangani means the 8 parts. We say limbs. So first is Yama and Niyama. These are all external and internal observances. So Yama, there are 5 Yamas. I don't want to go into great detail, but it is non-stealing, brahmacharya means walking in the path of the Brahman. Kind of loosely interpreted as kind of containing your sexual energies, not squandering. Brahmacharya, asteya, non-hoarding, aparigraha, and satya, not telling the truth. These are all vows. Patanjali calls it Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. When you observe this, it's a great vow. You get superpowers. So there's external. This is with respect to the world, because not stealing, not hoarding, taking things from others, telling the truth. These are all external observances. The niyamas, internal. Shaucha, Santosha, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, Pranidhana. Shaucha is cleanliness, internal cleanliness. Santosha, being content with what you have. Saucha, Santosha, then Tapa, Swadhyaya, and Ishvara, Pranidhana. So these are the niyamas. Then this is the foundation. Without that, asana practice. Patanjali very clearly says that then comes asana to get the body stay ready for your advance. There are 3 sutras on asanas. It defines asana as sthira sukhamasanam. Asanas is that pose where you have stability and sukham, comfort. So if you're struggling, feeling miserable in a pose, that's not asana. Of course, initially there's difficulty, that's okay, but not to the point where you're suffering and hating so much. It happens in our Ashtanga intermediate series. There's a pose called Kapotasana. That pose shouldn't even be there. It's a back bends are very difficult because it's very disorienting. The spine gets into a very compromised position. It's so unnatural. And this is like an extreme back bend. And if you look at Krishnamacharya's original, the sequence that he had for his students, Vipassana comes way later. I don't know, somebody put it there to torture people. that, that point, everybody, they just hate that pose. Uh, so, uh, yeah, anyway, so there is asana, then pranayama. Pranayama makes the mind fit for meditation. It's all the scriptures don't talk much about asana. They all talk about pranayama. This is the prana ayama. So yama is control. Ayama means great control to the point you are extending the prana, making it so great, such a great control. So prana ayama, great mastery over the prana. That is pranayama. Even though pranayama might look very simple, lot of people tell that it has profound effects on their mind. Just the simple Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril, it doesn't have to be some fancy rotating the stomach and all that. Simple things have huge powers in terms of steadying the mind. Dharana shucha yogyata manasaha, it makes the mind fit for the next step, which is focus, dharana. And Patanjali uses two, he gives two benefits. For asana, he says tirasukham asanam, tato dvandvana bigataha. He says asana is good to remove all the dualities, the conflict. I want to eat that cake or something at 6 a.m. after I brush my teeth, have my coffee. I'm so attracted to that. So this conflict, the mind, the body craves one, the mind says another thing. And those conflicts, Patanjali says, will go away with the asana practice. Tato dvandva, dualities, the conflicts will go away. Your mind and the body are now kind of in sync. And that's the most important thing with the asana practice. It helps us be embodied. Otherwise, we are living in our head. Most people, if you see in Silicon Valley, they all live in the head. They're very heady. They have no feeling of their bodies. All kinds of things would be. They'll feel uncomfortable, but they wouldn't know what's going on with the body. So that is asana. Pranayama, Patanjali says that Patakshiyate prakasha varanam. Beautiful sutra. There's this light prakasha burning beautifully in the body, but because of all our habits, there's a covering. It's just so you're not seeing the light. And the shiyate just destroys that covering. The simple breathing does that. Atakshiyate prakasha varnam makes the mind. Dharana shucha yogyata manasaha makes the mind fit for meditation. So, as I said, yama niyama are the solid foundation. Asana, pranayama, then pratyahara. This is the turning, going, sitting for meditation. Then we saw dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Okay. I already said that this asana and pranayama. Asana is 3 and pranayama is 6 sutras. Meditation is about 76, including all the siddhis, and about 88 is for the Purusha, Prakriti, and all this. Okay, so how are you all feeling? So do you want another break, or what do you suggest, Gary? Another 5-minute break? Yeah, okay. I'll stop the recording. And feel free to ask questions.